There aren't commemorative sculptures for witches. So then I thought, oh, I wanted to make these women on pyres. Their arms are out like Christ, you know, saying, why have you forsaken me? They should be in all these towns in Europe. You know, so no one has needed it in their town yet, but, but you know, I thought I can have, yeah, you know, I just make them anyway. Art is something that moves from your insides into the physical world. And at the same time, it's just a representation of your insides in a different form. Basically, I think art it's just a way to think. You know, it's like standing in the wind and letting it pull you whatever direction it wants to go. And, you know, things start saying, pay attention to this and make this. You know, I think when I was in school, it was very difficult for me to learn how to read. And so I just had to learn from looking at things. I saw a picture in the Louvre of Genevieve sitting with the wolves and the lambs, and Genevieve's like the savior of Paris. So I drew my friend Genevieve as the Genevieve, and I cut up and made cartoons out of her. Then I made sculptures afterwards. First I made a Genevieve where she's just standing next to a wolf. And then I made Rapture, where the woman's walking out of the wolf. It's this sort of resurrection. I just have this inventory of images and I can start mixing them up. And if you make them like a kind of character, they get to live again. They get to have this life outside of just one version. I have one standing Genevieve, you know, and I just cut her up over and over and over again, and reconfiguring it and sort of smoothing the seams out. That this could have a little bit of heat gone, you know, just smooth out slightly. A lot of times I go into the molds and just make paper mache sculptures, and then you can cut them up really easily and, you know, put them back together. In wax, it's much more complicated, and then we spend, you know, endless quantities of time trying to fix them. It'd be much faster in a way just to cast another person and redo it, but I don't know, it's just funny to me to make it all keep coming out of the same sculpture. Then this I'll make in aluminum. And they'll go on these sort of wood crutches, so it will kind of lean back. It will lean back a bit like that, and then it will be on these sort of floating in air. To me, there's something interesting about sculpture or something hovering off the ground or having this, like a different relationship to the ground. Yeah, it's just that I don't want to do it. Yeah. It can be like that, or it can be like that.
About 5 minutes.
Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. It's going to become a dead witch under a pile of wood. You know, so, and then I thought I'd like about the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz, because she's under the house. So I thought, oh, I'm just under a wood pile.
Okay. Pull our shirt back.
When I was a kid, my father had my grandmother's death mask. She died like about 20 years before I was born. Then when my father died, my sister Bibi and I made a death mask of his head and hands.
Do you want to sit down?
Yeah, Kiki, sit right up.
And then when my sister died, then I went back and I made a death mask of her hands and head. And so I have like 3 generations of death masks. That's pretty good. We were a little bit like the Addams family. We lived in this big house, and there was a gravestone with our name in front of the house, and with this enormous sculpture in the back of the house. And, you know, we were really unpopular, and the kids would say I was a witch. And, you know, we were really, and my father had a beard and a Porsche, and we were like mortified, embarrassed, you know, that he had a car like that and didn't have, you know, a big woody station wagon. We made mostly paper models for him, like thousands of tetrahedron, octahedron, flattened models, and then we would sit and put them together, you know, after school every day. In my family, there was always a kind of morbidity. My father would always say that it's Irish Catholic. One whole part of our house was all my father's parents' clothing, all from, you know, the late 1800s. And teeth, you know, people's dentures. It was all, you know, lots of death everywhere. So, you know, I spent a couple of years drawing dead animals. I had this vision of that I was supposed to make another Noah's Ark, but it was of dead animals. This was when my cat died. I made all these sort of pietà, sort of self-portrait pietà of me holding my dead cat. I made like 50 billion prints of dead animals. And then I think, how come I own all those prints still? My big investment in my future. Oh, just calm down. They're easy to catch. Ah! No, you're supposed to go down, you dumb bird. Oh, come here. I really love printmaking. It's just this scratchy motion that I like the best.
The plate is so warm it dries this stuff right away. If you were to understand that the way she works, this is just normal, because every fiber of her body is about art. She can't do anything but what she does.
My father taught us to trust our intuition. You know, my mother would always say that, believe your intuition, that always you get in trouble when you don't pay attention to it. You know, and I think that not in other aspects of my personal life or daily life do I do that, but always in my art I do that. And sometimes I don't like where my art's going or something, but I always know that, you know, and I always kind of go like, why do I have to be making these things, or it's embarrassing or something like that, but I always trust that that's what's appropriate for me to be doing. I mean, for me, I'm just trying to have as many experiences as I can in sort of playing in different forms. I love domestic life, like, you know, like cupboards and blankets and dishes. You know, the first blanket I made here, she was a witch with her consorts of all her familiars, her animals. And then I thought this can be another female image with animals. I'm a big Virgin Mary fan. Catholicism is about storytelling. Okay, so now, you know, about reiterating over and over again these sort of mythological stories. Dolls and things like that are in the realm of fiction. I'll carry them around and I'll break their leg off, or, you know, or their head gets knocked off or something. But none of that is really seen in the end at all. But to me, that's really a big part about making it. This stuff makes me nervous because they're so specific. Like a story. I don't want to be so declarative like that. You know, I might rather make something that's very open-ended, that then, like, it can have a meaning to me, but then it also can have a meaning to somebody else, can fill it up with their meaning.
Okay.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I have no innate ability for doing things physically and stuff, so I have to really learn and try to do it. And to me, that's the pleasure in it. A friend of mine's son died, and I went to a Baptist funeral, and I'd never been in a Baptist church. And all the women wore nurses' uniforms, all the ushers, and they stood there with Kleenex boxes. And it was so moving to me to see, like, God's nurses. You know, like these women there, like, just with Kleenex. Like, it was so simple and so beautiful. And I thought about, like, saints, like little saint sculptures or something like that. And also that you make each one unique. The more you manipulate it, the more actual life you put into it. Like, I think people don't like it if you say you don't have any, like genetically innate ability for making things. Like, they go, oh, no, that's not true. You do. People like this fantasy of, like, artists are creating or yeah, having this, like, you know, inspiration all the time, and so for me, I think what I like about the Foundry and all stuff is this work. You know, like 90% of it is that you have to come here and, like, you know, file out your bad mistakes and stuff like that, or it gives you this enormous freedom in just filing and doing things like that for hours on end. Like, I always know what to do. I never have a moment in my life when I don't know what to do. I always know there's some filing to do, you know?
To learn more about Art 21, Art in the 21st Century, and to download the free Educator's Guide, please visit PBS Online at pbs.org. Art 21, Art in the 21st Century is available on videocassette or DVD. The companion book to the series is also available. To order, call PBS Home Video at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.